when I look at how life progresses, right? There are parts in our life where things are flowing and our everyday life is flowing and our horsewomanship is flowing. And then there are times in our life where things are not flowing so much. And I think lately we've been living in times that have been incredibly stressful with outside influences. And if you have in your life things that are not working, they will be magnified because we already have a general anxiety in us. It's just like with horses. When horses have what I would call residual tension, when there is brace and tension and stress, worry, anxiety, and fear already present because of how their life is, how their situation is, then something else happens and there is a huge response. And a lot of times we humans are like, where is that coming from? It's coming out of the blue, right? But it's not really coming out of the blue because there was already an underlying current going on. So in times as we are living right now, I feel it's really important that you analyze where your anxiety is coming from. And in general, when we want to have a transformation, when we want to have positive change happening in our life, there are really 5 steps that you have to take and that I've taken and that I regularly take my students through, whether it's their horsewomanship or whether it's everyday life, to really have a roadmap that you can use time and time again to work through difficult situations, no matter what they are. I have used this kind of setup that I have learned to some extent. I've modified it a little bit in my journey to become an inside inventory coach. And when I was certified by Dr. Patrick Hanley, and we did the relationship transformation course, which some of you might remember. We had 43 students in that course, and actually a couple of those students are still now re-enrolled in my mentorship program with Genuine Connections Horsewomanship, which, by the way, how things happen in our everyday life is a direct correlation to what things are happening in your horsewomanship, right? And to highlight that very, very first step, I want to take a story out of my own life that will showcase for you what is the first step that you really need to take. So when I was still in Pagosa Springs, when I was still a Pirelli instructor, I had ended a relationship that wasn't working anymore, and it was very sad. I was very sad. But at the same time, I had my own apartment. I had peace in my life, which is super important for us humans, right? That consistency, things that we can rely on, that we are certain of, is very important to create a baseline for how you are. The more commotion, the more uncertainty is in our life, the harder it is to function. So I had my own apartment, I had my horses boarded at 7 Pines, I had an indoor arena, which I absolutely loved, and I didn't like the drama in the barn, right? From my perspective, there was a lot of drama, and I wanted to have my own place because, again, I wanted to have that peace in my life, that certain currency that I could control, and where I was not exposed to other people's turmoil. And I had been driving by a house on a regular basis when I was visiting a student of mine. And there had been a for sale sign, and it was a owner for sale, and there was a realtor sign. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, this is actually kind of a cute place, but you know, I don't have any money in my bank. I can't buy anything. And then I saw that property in the newspaper, and it was, I think it was like $125,000. And I started to think about what kind of payment would that mortgage be? And guess what I realized? It was less than I was paying for my apartment and for my horse board. And I thought, okay, so then I have to pay for hay and, I have utilities. And I figured out that it would end up with me having my horses at my own place, right? Doing whatever I wanted, right? Having people in my life that I wanted in my life, not being reliant on somebody else's drama. I could actually swing that monthly payment because that's what I had been making and paying to other people, right? So, but I had no money for a down payment and I had no money for closing costs. And I drove by that house and one day I thought, I have to figure this out. This has to be possible. How can I figure this out to buy this house? And that's your first step. You need to be willing. You need to be ready to see the possibility. To see the possibility. I have seen that in my life so many times. That once I see the possibility, once I imagine in my mind it's possible, that I have the willingness, that I say, oh, this is not possible. I can't do this. This will never work. I don't have the skills to do that. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. Whatever we're telling ourselves, there's an underlying current in your life that you have to figure out what that is that keeps you from having the willingness to imagine that, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can figure this out. And sometimes it's things that we can do ourselves when we set the mind to it. And sometimes we need to look at it from a perspective, who do I know that can help me? What skills do I have? What skills do I need to learn that I can make that very next step? So my very next step was to call the realtor. Come to find out, this property had been on the market for several years. And because it was an owner built, there was owner financing available. So I knew two things. I knew that they really wanted to sell that house by now, right? Because it had been on the market forever. I knew I didn't have to qualify for a bank. And I also knew that there was an opening for me now to start talking. To say, well, this property has been on the market for a long time. The interior isn't finished. This is kind of an unknown book. We don't really know what's going on with the property because the electricity is turned off, the water is turned off. And so, by the way, it took me 3 weeks to get the realtor to call me back. 3 weeks. So I didn't just call once. I called several times each week until somebody called me back. And then I realized that the realtor had gotten into an argument with the owner and was unwilling to show the property. So how many people will call for 3 weeks, right? So I was the only one that was interested. So sometimes you just don't know. You have to take that first step, right? Hi, Carmen. Sometimes you just have to take that first step, and then you get more information, and you have to have the willingness to just see that it's possible. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stop here and you percolate on what I've told you so far and pop your aha moment in the comment section. And I will continue that story tomorrow with the next step. So it's the willingness. What's not working in your life right now? And can you see the possibility for change? Are you willing to take what it takes? Because a lot of times we want to change, we want that change, but we don't want to change. And part of that we don't want to change is that we're denying ourselves the possibility to see that the transformation is actually there and available to you. So if you would like my support, I'm offering this week free coaching, whatever it is, whether it's in your horsewomanship, whether it's in your everyday life. Those two are always, always, always connected. Pop a line below, tell me your aha moment, or if you want to keep this private, that's okay too. Send me a private message and I will get back to you, and we will have a one-on-one talk on what your next step will be. And I call this whole process taking inventory. My private students in my mentorship will recognize this for the horses as the happy horse inventory, because once we go through that inventory, our horse will be rather happy with us, because then we know what we have to change in order for our horse to feel safe, secure, and confident with us. And when you do that with yourself, you will be able to figure out how to feel safe, secure, and confident in your ability to provoke positive change and transformation. Have a blessed day. As I always say, my mentorship group meetings with lots of love, because love makes everything better, including our horsewomanship and including all the other connections that you build in your life. And that's why I call my program the Genuine Connections Horsewomanship, because you will learn how to connect with your horse, with yourself, and with others. Bye now, and take that first step. Be brave. Send me a PM or post in the comment section to get the discussion and the connections going. Bye now.